Catch me if I fall.
Very good evening. Welcome to Champions League Live, the first of our double header of Champions League football this evening. First, we're in Bern in Switzerland as Aston Villa make their 42-year return to the Champions League, or what it was known then, the European Cup, when they were the champions of Europe. They head to face Young Boys on Matchday 1. And a bit later on, we head to San Siro in Milan as AC Milan take on Liverpool. Two sides with storied histories in this competition and against each other over the years. They face off at San Siro at 8 o'clock this evening. Amongst other games, 6 games this evening in total, 6 tomorrow night and 6 on Thursday night to bring you through. And we will keep you to date with each and every one of them and all the big talking points of every game. It's a new formatted Champions League and it is all new to us all. So we're going to talk through that in a moment. But let me just run you through the fixtures this evening. PSV Eindhoven head to Juventus in Italy as well. As I said, Young Boys face Aston Villa. Those are the two 5:45 kickoffs, so those are the early games. And then there's 4 games kicking off at 8 o'clock in the UK. AC Milan take on Liverpool. Dinamo Zagreb head to Bayern Munich. Real Madrid, the champions, back in action looking to defend their title once again. They take on Stuttgart in the Bernabeu. And Lille will head to Sporting in Portugal. Those are games this evening. Of course, as I said, we'll keep you to date with each and every one of them and everything that happens in all of those games. We'll get you team news as well from the Aston Villa game in just a moment. But let's bring you back to why we're here, how we're here, and what this all means. Of course, a new formatted Champions League. We talked about it during the draw stream a few weeks ago. But this is kind of the gist of what the new Champions League is going to look like. Well, 36 teams will participate in the Champions League phase, giving 4 more teams the opportunity to compete against Europe's best clubs. The 36 teams will compete in a single league competition in which teams are ranked in a combined league table. Under the new format, 8 teams will play 8 matches against 8 different opponents, 4 at home and 4 away, giving clubs the chance to test themselves against a wider variety of opponent. Qualification to the knockout stages will be based upon the final positioning in the league table after 8 matches. The top 8 teams will automatically qualify for the round of 16. The next 16 teams, that's 9th to 24th placed in the competition, they will face off in a playoff round in February to decide which 8 teams out of those 16 progress. This playoff round will be two-legged tie, as is like with any other knockout stage. The bottom 12 teams, that's 25th to 36th, will be eliminated from all UEFA competitions. There will be no backdoor to the Europa League as previously in the group stages. There is no drop down into the next competition down. Once you're eliminated, you are eliminated completely. But don't worry. If it's still confusing, once we get going, we will continue to explain it and keep you informed on the situation from around Europe. It is going to be complicated, it is going to be complex once we get started, but once we get into the flow of things and we get used to the system, it will be pretty simple. However, remember, we are all going through this together. We are all seeing this for the first time tonight, so bear with us because this is new to LFS as well. And me, and explaining it live is not going to be simple, but it's going to be more complex at the very start. Let's just run you through the schedule then for what is to come in this. As you can see, 8 match days, all dated there. This today is the 17th of September, so it is the very first, which means there are 3 nights of action, Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday. That's the only time this season that there will be action of a Champions League format on a Thursday night, so 3 nights in a row. All the rest will be Tuesday and Wednesday evenings, start of October, November, December, and for the first time, Champions League league phase games, or games in terms of the old group stage, will be played in January, and all 18 games will be played simultaneously on the final match day, Matchday 8, on the 29th of January. Just a reminder, these are all the 36 teams taking part in the competition. There they are, some new faces as well in there, some new logos we haven't really seen before, and that is fascinating. We'll go through them all as we go through the competition, of course. I'll keep you up to date with each and everything. As you saw there, those are tonight's fixtures, the 6 games. Tomorrow, we'll be watching Manchester City. They take on Inter Milan. Celtic back in the competition. They take on a debutant in Slovan Bratislava. Dortmund head to Bruges. PSG face Girona. Bologna Shakhtar and Sparta Prague, RB Salzburg as well. And then on Thursday, Arsenal head to the Europa League champions, Atalanta in Bergamo. Atletico Madrid take on Leipzig. Brest face Sturm Graz. They're 2 pot 4 sides, 2 interesting new sides in the competition. AS Monaco face Barcelona. Leverkusen head to Feyenoord, and Red Star Belgrade, or Crvena Zvezda as they're known in their native language, they face Benfica. So each and every week, 18 games, but they'll be split usually into 9 games per night, as previously known. Can be a bit chaotic at times, but sure enough, once you're here with us, you will not miss a single moment. You'll not miss a goal, you'll not miss any sort of action, you will not miss anything with LFS here this evening. We will be keeping an eye, of course, in our other 7:45 kickoff, Juventus against PSV Eindhoven, which is kicking off at the same time as our game between Young Boys and Aston Villa. We're going to talk about Aston Villa in just a moment, because it's a significant moment for Aston Villa, back in the competition, with amongst Europe's elite for the first time since they won the competition back in 1982. Now, of course, back then it was known as the European Cup, and a very different format then as well. It's quite ironic that Aston Villa won the competition back in 1982 and hadn't ever played in the format we have known to be the group stages. They had never played in it, which is quite ironic, to be honest. But there we are. The groups never to be known to Aston Villa, so they should probably fit in pretty well to this. 42 years since they were amongst Europe's top competitors, and we'll see how they do this evening. Of course, they have some interesting fixtures and some big fixtures to come for Aston Villa in this competition. We talk about Bayern Munich at Villa Park. What a huge matchup that will be. Bologna as well at Villa Park for them. They head to Club Brugge. They have Juventus at Villa Park as well. Then they head to Leipzig. Then AS Monaco. And then on the final game, what a matchup this is. Aston Villa against Celtic at Villa Park on the 29th of January. Aston Villa have some incredible fixtures for their first return to the Champions League in 42 years, and we are sure to keep a very, very close eye on them, because they have a manager in Unai Emery who's well versed in European football, has won a few trophies, actually got Aston Villa to the Conference League semi-finals last year, of course, was in a Champions League semi-final a few years ago as well, so he knows his way around European competitions and certainly how to win them, and do very well with any club that he's ever been in. But this is not a day for worrying about Unai Emery. It's about remembering Aston Villa. As I said, 42 years since they were last in this competition. Let's have a look back at how they won the European Cup back in 1981-82. Wow, what a run. And unequivocally, it was a very different format of European Cup back then in 1982. A first round, a second round, and then you went straight into the quarterfinals, the semi-finals, and then the final. Only 5 rounds of Champions League, or European Cup as it was known then, before you were crowned champions. They came up against some big sides, some sides you probably never heard of, but that was the beauty of European football back then, and probably similarly so now. With 36 teams, there are some teams you've probably never heard of in the Champions League, but there are some storied histories and some huge clubs to go along the way, and we'll be watching them all the way throughout. 5 rounds in that run to the final. It's a long way until the final now, and it could be a long trip to that final in May. But of course, Aston Villa, they worry about this game tonight, which they will face Young Boys. We're going to be heading to Bern, Switzerland for the commentary in just a moment. Do stay with us here on Champions League Live. Good evening, welcome to Champions League Live. Once again, we've went through the new formats and Aston Villa's storied history with this competition, having won the European Cup back in 1982. But tonight, they dawn a new era of Champions League football, a new era, a new format, a new way of doing things in Europe's elite competition. We, together, witnessing history, something that is, well, truly never been done before. 8 matches, 8 different opponents. Aston Villa have some big clubs along the way, but their first trip is a tough away stadium where Young Boys actually beat Manchester United a few years ago. Aston Villa will certainly not be counting their chickens, as to you say, in terms of getting 3 points tonight. And each 3 points, each set of points, every single point you can get matters, because it is an unfounded and a completely new way of working things. No one knows what it's going to be like until we witness it firsthand, and we are about to see the dawn of that new era of Champions League football. As the players walk out onto the field, let's have a look at the two teams then. And starting with the home side this evening, their captain David von Balmus in goal. A back 4 of Zachary Athekame, Mohamed Kamara, Tangoy Zukuru, and Jawan Hadjam in defence. Czech Niasa and Sandro Loper make up the defensive midfield, with Filip Ugrinic further forward. Off the right, Joel Montero, Brima Colley off the left, and Silver Ganvula leading the line for the Swiss side. For Aston Villa, a team that will be remembered for a long time to come. Villa back in the Champions League under a European great of a manager, and this starting 11 will go down in history as the side that reignited European football for this wonderful club. Emi Martinez starts in goal. A back 4 of Lemar Bogard, Ezri Konsa, Pau Torres and Luca Digne are the defenders. Amadou Onana and Yuri Tielemans in midfield. Further forward, Morgan Rogers through the middle. John McGinn, the captain, off the right. Jacob Ramsey off the left. And Ollie Watkins leading the line. A Villa side, as I said, making history of their own for their club, but also being part of history in Europe's elite competition. Young Boys, of course, have been in this competition quite a number of times over the years. They'll be hoping that they can cause a bit of a shock and be amongst the proper teams and the top teams that maybe could push for knockout football. Of course, that's a long way away. Tonight we're worrying about just getting off the mark and getting started. Getting off to a good start is what is crucial and important in this competition and in this new format, as I said, with that league table. And of course we will look at the end of each match day at the league table, who stands where, who's to do what. It will be very, very, very exciting. and we're about to get underway in a moment or two. The players just doing the coin toss. The two captains, John McGinn and the young boys keeper, David von Balmus. Our referee this evening is Georgi Kabakov from Bulgaria. And they're picking sides. The referee, just hearing a bit of the referee's chat with the two captains. It's not often you hear that, a referee in conversation. But there we are. As we're about to get underway, the team news for the Aston Villa team is just going across the screen. Don't forget, as I mentioned, another game underway at the moment, a 5:45 kickoff in Juventus in Turin. Juventus taking on PSV Eindhoven. We're keeping an eye on that one for you, so we will see who will score the first goal of the new format. Which team will it be? We will soon find out, of course. Aston Villa not in their home strip this evening. I was expecting them to play in their claret and blue to mark this historic moment, but they're not. They're playing in a navy blue colour this evening, their away strip. Young boys, of course, in their traditional yellow and black home strip, so they're in their natural colours. And believe me, we've had some fascinating conversations over the last few days about clubs and teams wearing colours that are just not necessary in terms of kit clash conversations, but we'll not go there as the referee gets ready to get underway. Players set up. Young boys will get us going. And there we are. A new era of Champions League football has been birthed, and we are watching it and witnessing it together here in Bern, Switzerland, in what has been a stadium that has been praised for its funny name, shall we say, the Wankdorf Stadium. I will not repeat that too many times tonight if I don't need to, but let's just say it's got a few giggles and laughs around the place. The ultras inside this stadium are certainly making their voices heard early on. Those young boys ultras waving their flags around vigorously, as Aston Villa have a bit of defending to do there as they clear the ball. And young boys ultimately under pressure, but Adakami put it out for the throw-in. Early chance for Aston Villa down this left-hand side. Lucadinha to take this throw-in. Of course, a Villa side who had to come from 2-0 down at the weekend in the Premier League against Everton at Villa Park. Ended up winning 3-2 with an absolute screamer from John Durant, who is on the bench this evening. John Durant, as Villa get dispossessed in the middle, albeit John McGinn wins it back. Now Rodgers. All about Aston Villa wanting to dominate the ball, wanting to control possession, and we've seen that progress under Unai Emery. Of course, last season in the Conference League it wasn't plain sailing for Villa, but they would argue they've probably improved since then, and certainly getting in the top four is as tough as can be for a side, no disrespect to Villa, but aren't in that traditional top six, aren't one of those clubs that are battling for Europe each and every season. The change of expectations since Unai Emery's come into the club has been quite refreshing to watch, and a club that has a lot of history, especially in this competition, is certainly trying to reignite that hope that a whole generation of fans haven't had. Certainly we'll see if Aston Villa, we'll see if Unai Emery can deliver that with Aston Villa. Of course, already getting them into the Champions League is a massive achievement. It's about doing well in the competition now. And let's see how they fare. So far, they're struggling to keep the possession early on. Albeit here's Yuri Tielemans. Finds Onana. Back it comes to Concert. Now Tielemans through the lines. That's nice work. On the spin was Rodgers and tried to feed in Watkins, but well closed down by Hajim. Although he gets a bit muddled up from the pressure of John McGinn, and Hajim puts that out for a Villa throw. Patrick Rahman, the young boys head coach. Of course, they sit bottom of the Swiss Super League at the moment, young boys. Haven't won a game this season in 6 matches. 3 draws, 3 defeats to start the campaign. I'm sure Patrick Rahman will be desperate for his side to get a first win, and if that be against in the Aston Villa in the Champions League, that would certainly kickstart their season, but domestically not going well so far for the hosts. Aston Villa, on the other hand, have had a stop-start. A crazy start to the season, let's just say. Some interesting games. Here's Jacob Ramsey. Back to Torres. Now to Konsa. Back to Torres. Villa starting to control the ball a bit more. Starting to dictate the possession and the tempo of this game. That's crucial for Villa. You know, a European away, it's all about silencing the crowd, trying to assert your own dominance and control in the game, and kind of disenfranchise the home side, as that's going to be a free kick given away by Onana on Nias, the number 20 for young boys. That's Hajam. Played it out wide to Colley. Has to come back to Zukru. Now back to Von Balmus, who tries to lift it over the top, and the target there was Gunvula, but well closed out by Pau Torres, who dealt with that situation at the back for Villa. And then Emi Martinez can just gather the ball comfortably. Elsewhere, Juventus at 0-0 with PSV. It's been a pretty even start there, but PSV having slightly the better of the early possession, but Juventus with the only shot as Villa come forward here. Rodgers finds it out wide to Ramsey. Ramsey back to Rodgers. Rodgers closed down as he entered the box, and young boys got bodies back well there. Villa were in a good position when Rodgers first picked up the ball, and as Villa charged forward, the home side certainly retreated with a lot of pace. Got back in those positions to close down that attack. That's crucial for Villa as well tonight, moving the ball quickly, making sure that they have the full control. Of course, won't be easy. But tough away stadiums for Villa. They had to go to tough places last season in the Conference League, of course, so maybe they haven't been thrown into the deep end necessarily right away on that front. Have had some tough places to go last season, as Montero does well there to win young boys a throw on the right hand side. There's a Kama. Back it comes to Kamara, to Zukru, out wide to Hajam, trying to move the ball quickly there, young boys. There's Lauper. Back to Zukru. Now across to Kamara. You had to chip the ball out wide. Lovely infield run by Atakami. Got a bit linked up with Gunvula there, but they keep the ball on the edge of the box, and Villa battled to win it back, and I think the referee was a bit uncertain about that one, but has given the free kick against Yuri Tielemans, who tried to win the ball back for Villa. See it again. Gunvula just got involved. Tried to keep Atakami on the ball, and Tielemans just committing the foul. One that Unai Emery certainly didn't feel was a free kick, but the referee had a different view, and a free kick does go the way of the home side. There's a good distance out, so we'll see what they attempt to do from this position. Around about 29 yards out, I would guess. Around about that distance. Emi Martinez trying to set up his wall to make sure that Villa have the best of their ability to defend this free kick. Atakame is one of those around this free kick, and Filip Ugrinic is the other. Ugrinic to take, and a curling effort straight into the hands of Emi Martinez. I saw that one coming from a very long distance. And right through the two-man wall there from John McGinn and Morgan Rogers, and easy gather for the World Cup winning goalkeeper. Martinez goes long, out to the right-hand side, chested down by Rogers. Back with Bogard. And now Consa into Tielemans. McGinn on the turn. McGinn trying to chip it out over the defence, but retreating that time was Ollie Watkins, and young boys can recover the ball comfortably there with Zukru. Now Kamara. Well, Aston Villa will be the first English newcomers to the Champions League. They are the first English newcomers to the Champions League since Leicester in 2016-17. Of course, Leicester were the champions back then of the Premier League. They've become the 11th different English club overall to compete in the UEFA Champions League since its creation in 1992. Of course, was known previously as the European Cup, and Villa did were involved in that, but since 1992, since the creation of the Champions League, Aston Villa haven't been involved, and they become the 11th English club overall to compete. Still 0-0 in Turin as well between Juventus and PSV Eindhoven there, so we'll keep an eye on that one, but still goalless in that occasion as well. I think sides early on are just trying to kind of feel each other out a bit. Not massively desperate for an early chance, although here is Ugrinic with another free kick on that left-hand side now for young boys. Just 10 minutes gone here in Switzerland. And the referee just has to have a chat with Kamara and Digne there. As Ugrinic ready to take again. Right-footed delivery all the way through. And I think Emi Martinez had to palm that one away as McGinn now sends Villa on the counter. Look at Digne. Lots of space on the left. Can't really find a teammate just yet as they stride forward. Tielemans finds Rogers. Closed down, but Tielemans there to pick it up again. And Villa get themselves forward well. That's good play by Villa. Get out of that tough moment where they were under pressure from that free kick, but get themselves up the field pretty quickly and almost all exclusively in the home side's half. Here is Pau Torres. Torres flicks the ball around the corner trying to find Digne, but just too much pace on that one from the centre-back. And the goal kick goes the way of young boys. Well, Aston Villa is the 6th different team that Unai Emery has managed in the Champions League. So I said he certainly wasn't a newcomer himself at this level. He's certainly got a well-known past and history of this competition, but also the Europa League as well. As I'll get to that in a moment, as Villa trying to defend here through Bogard. The referee says no foul, and the shot has to be saved by Emi Martinez. The follow-up is just wide by Ugrinic. Goodness me, that's got the crowd going. All of a sudden, a break down the left-hand side, and Bogard just falls over just too easily. According to the referee, Niasse gets it back, has the shot, and it's cleared away. And then the cut back to Ugrinic from the palming of Emi Martinez with a save. It's a good save by Martinez, and then it rebounds out, and Ugrinic really just has the goal at his mercy and misses the target. Two very good opportunities back to back there for young boys. Certainly that idea that Aston Villa are not kind of foolproof in this so far. Unai Emery a bit confused at the fact that Ollie Watkins controlling the ball on the sideline was deemed out of play, but I think it did cross the line. Villa again trying to play the quick football. Rogers finds Ramsey. who comes back infield to Onana. Feel like the game's upped in tempo a slight bit more. It's starting to flow a bit further and starting to see both sides open up a bit more and a bit more attacking intent in them. Here's Konsa. Now Tielemans in a tight space can only give it back to Konsa. They try and work it around midfield. Konsa does just enough to keep the ball. Finds Bogard. Rodgers. McGinn back to Bogard again. Villa just really getting a few touches of the ball, keeping the ball moving, keeping the defence moving. As Torres tries to hoof one up the field, but that's gone absolutely nowhere from a Villa point of view and straight into the hands of David van Balmus, the young boy's keeper. Although Van Balmus's clearance, straight one back by Villa. That didn't last very long in terms of the Swiss side's possession. As I was saying about Unai Emery, his 6th different side, Aston Villa, are that he has managed in the Champions League. He had spells at Valencia, Spartak Moscow, Sevilla, PSG and Villarreal, of course. The most recent Villarreal, who actually got to a semi-final in the Champions League back in 2022 when they were put out by Liverpool back on that occasion. It'd be an absolute dream if for those Villa fans, if their European dream was to be similar of the likes of maybe West Ham in the Conference League when they went on to go on that run. Albeit last season Villa had that chance, ended in the semi-finals. But you know, this is a Villa side that can only be dreaming of maybe knockouts at the very best. As Gunnar goes in behind Gunvula, and I think the flag has gone up there. Just trying to figure out who that was that made that run. It was a nice run, but I think Gunvula he's just offside. It's a good high line by Aston Villa, ultimately. And Gunvula played offside there. 15 minutes gone in Bern, and I'd have to say it's the home side that have probably looked the better of it, to be honest, in terms of their attacking output. Villa without a shot yet in this one, albeit with over 60% possession, Aston Villa, but they haven't really done much with it at this moment in time. They haven't really got into the final third. We've barely seen Ollie Watkins early doors, and that's a tussle there, and Ramsey dragged to the ground by Atakami. He's now telling the referee that he was grabbed around the neck, but free kick's been given to Villa. No further punishment for Atakami. I mean, it is a real, what they would call in American football, a horse kind of, what is it, a horseshoe tackle or a horse collar tackle, that's what it is. It kind of drags him down. It's really a vicious one, but the referee just gives the free kick. Villa mess up that set piece. Give the ball away. Well done. Well tracked back there by Montera. And then Niasse all over him was Yuri Tielemans. And now young boys get a free kick to relieve themselves of that pressure. Again, it just seems like at times Villa kind of lose their kind of stability in moments. They get a bit fiery and feisty, and I think they just need to keep that calm. We've just seen in the last minute or so there, they've been really frustrated by certain moments, and that's kind of what young boys want to make this a real tough battle as they find their way into the box, and Colley almost found a way through. Ultimately well defended, and I think it was Hajam there as well, but goodness me, that was close. And Hajam has gone down actually. They clash there, back there. I think that was with Bogard. Oh, it was actually Onana. It was on the cover. It's Bogard that got left on the floor again. Hajam cut it back. Konsa got beaten past, and then it was Onana on the cover. Just kind of got clipped there, did Amadou Onana, as Hajam stepped in to try and take the shot, and ultimately ended up in nothing. But again, as the point that I make, young boys trying to make it difficult, make it physical, make kind of that unsettling game, get Aston Villa to be frustrated, be angry, kind of see that more frustrated and not vicious, but that more kind of rattled side to Aston Villa, or they know they're going to try and get the benefit out of them. I think Aston Villa just need to sustain and maintain a bit of calmness, a bit of composure to overcome this, because look, that's the whole idea of the home side. Make this a tough stadium, make it difficult for them. And I think Aston Villa, with their dominance of possession so far, have shown that they have the quality to possess the ball and keep the ball and dominate this team, but it's about converting that into the final third, and so far they haven't really done that in these early moments. But of course, a long way to go, as we do have this stoppage. Onana receiving treatment, so there is this stoppage. Perfect time to tell you what's going on in Turin between Juventus and PSV Eindhoven. It is still 0-0 so far, so not much action happening. And PSV Eindhoven have started to control that game a bit more. They're holding more of the possession and have had 5 shots since I last spoke to you about it. It's Juventus 0, PSV Eindhoven 0. As Onana's back to his feet, back involved in the action. I'm just hearing there has been a goal in Turin. I'll get there in a second. Oh, what a finish. That is absolutely sublime. And I'm just trying to see who scored it. It's Juventus that lead, but I'm just trying to see who scored for Juventus. The number 10, Kenan Yildiz, with an absolute peach of an effort. Absolutely fabulous goal. A wonderful effort. Cuts inside off the left onto his right foot and puts it right into the top bins on the top right corner. Fabulous, fabulous goal from Kenan Yildiz. What an effort. What a way to crown this new format of the competition with a goal that will certainly be replayed time and time again in the highlights. And if you get the chance to see it, believe me, I recommend it, because it is absolutely incredible, that goal. It is Juventus 1, PSV Eindhoven 0, and what a finish by Kenan Yildiz to give Juventus the lead, as Bogart is just penalised there for a tug on Ugrinic. So a free kick to Young Boys, and Ugrinic stayed down, so don't know whether he's going to receive treatment or if he is okay to return to his feet at the moment. He does look to be wincing in pain, but I don't know whether that's overacting or not. I mean, he was just tugged, really. There's nothing massive in the situation. I don't think there's really much in that. And miraculously, he's back to his feet and ready to take this free kick. So, Young Boys back to get Filip Ugrinic back to his feet and ready to take this free kick then. On the left-hand side, a chance, another attacking opportunity. Quite a number of free kicks in the last few minutes. Ugrinic, right-footed delivery. Palmed away by Martinez. It got a good whip on it. This is a good moment for the home side. Ugrinic. Down the left-hand side it comes. That's Colley! Oh my goodness me. Very close, that one. Jesus, it was quicker than the camera could show it. Colley with an absolute wonder of an attempt, but it just goes over the bar. That would have been competition for Yildiz's goal if that had went in. It just sailed over the crossbar just narrowly, but goodness me, Ibrahima Colley came very, very close there to giving the home side the lead here. But ultimately it still remains 0-0 as the ball just went over the bar. The 24-year-old Gambian, Ibrahima Colley, joined Young Boys for an undisclosed fee in the summer. Actually was on loan here for all of last season from Atalanta, of course, and has been on loan ever since he joined Atalanta from the youth team. He was in the Atalanta youth team, joined Hellas Verona, and then that was a loan for Hellas Verona, Spezia and other clubs amongst them that he went on loan to before making his move to Young Boys permanent in the summer. And would have crowned himself with an absolute beautiful goal in his Champions League debut for the club. In the new format, of course. Still goalless as we are just coming to halfway through the first half. And I'd say, again, the point really still stands. Young Boys have probably been the better side in this early moments. Villa have really struggled to convert their possession into real kind of meaning. Well, the possession they've had into meaningful attacking opportunities in these early moments. Well, this is a good chance. John McGinn over the bar. Just as I mentioned, that it was actually a long ball, and young boys failed to deal with it comfortably through the defence. It was actually, it was the defenders that just couldn't hold off Ollie Watkins, and Watkins just headed it back to the on-running John McGinn, who tried to take the shot from the edge of the box. Got it all wrong, but it's better from Villa. A bit of cohesion in the final third, and for probably one of the first times in this game we've seen Ollie Watkins involved in a contributing sense to the attack. As here's Zukru having to clear it from that Villa pressure, and it goes out for an Aston Villa throw. It's Bogard to take the throw in on the right hand side. Tried to find it. Tielemans in the middle, but intercepted, albeit young boys couldn't make much of their possession as Rodgers wins it back. Digne. And now Tielemans back to Pau Torres. I think Aston Villa need a bit of energy about them. Not be the most energetic of first 25 minutes from the visitors, as Ramsey was pulled there by Atakami. Free kick to Villa. I have to say, is anyone else in the UK roasting hot? It is warm. I don't know where this has come from. It's the 17th of September. We should be heading into kind of autumn, and it's like it's turned into more of a summer all of a sudden. Baffling. Anyway, free kick to Aston Villa. Yuri Tielemans ready to take this. Young boys have set up their defensive line on their edge of their own 18-yard box. Tielemans will go short with a free kick. The 1-2 there with his defender. Tielemans now delivers it into the box, and Zukru was there to try and clear it. Watkins tried to keep Villa on the attack, but that one's cleared away, albeit only as far as Tielemans. And now McGinn, keeping Villa on the front foot. McGinn finds a nice ball into the half space for Ramsey. Ramsey round the corner, finds Digne. Digne across the 6-yard box and cleared behind. Pau Torres was the target, but cleared behind by Mohamed Kamara for a Villa corner. And that is the first corner of the game. Overall, we have another goal in Turin to tell you about. I said that Juventus certainly had a wonder goal to open the scoring. They have another one, and they have doubled their lead. Weston McKennie has doubled Juventus's lead in this one. Cut back into the box, and McKennie's there, the right place at the right time. They just swipe it in with his right foot into the far corner. It is Juventus 2, PSV Eindhoven 0. As Villa take the corner short. Digne back to McGinn, who whips it deep to the back post, and the shot is all the way through. Yuri Tielemans gives Aston Villa the lead. They have probably been second best for the majority of this first half so far, but their first corner, their first set piece of real contribution in the game, Yuri Tielemans with a wonderful effort gives Aston Villa the lead in Switzerland. What a ball by McGinn, and Yuri Tielemans unmarked in the box just takes it down beautifully with his first touch, and the right-footed effort, maybe a bit of a bobbling one, but it went through a number of bodies into the far left corner, and Yuri Tielemans gets Aston Villa's first goal in the new Champions League format in the Champions League ever. Their first goal since 1982. And Yuri Tielemans is the man to get it. Applause and cheers from his manager. And Aston Villa take the lead in Bern. Wonderful goal by Tielemans. And a wonderful set piece by Aston Villa as a whole. Fabulous. And that's Young Boys 0, Aston Villa 1. So far, so with two sides leading already this evening. Now Juventus 2-0 up against PSV Eindhoven in Turin, and Aston Villa now leading Young Boys by a goal to 0 in Bern. But again, we talk about, and I've mentioned it so far, about how Villa really haven't been as fluid and as kind of front-footed in possession as we've expected from them in these early moments. They've been a bit clunky at times, trying to get the ball up the field and keep it up the field with the likes of Rodgers and Ramsey and McGinn and Ollie Watkins. But from set pieces, they have been a massive threat. They've been a massive threat for a number of years in set pieces since he's took over, Unai Emery. But that is clearly an indication of that's something where Villa might just have the edge so far. Because how many times have we counted young boys having free kicks and chances that haven't ended up in the net? Villa have their first corner of the game and their first big set piece, really, of real note. And they take the lead from it. That's the difference. Niasse going to go over the top, but that one just a bit too far away from Colley and a bit too close to Emi Martinez, who gathers for Aston Villa. I have to say, it's a well-worked goal. It's straight off the training ground from Aston Villa. And I have to say, there's a lot of satisfaction when you see such a clean, crisp goal. You clearly know that the team have worked on, that they've worked at that on training, and they had that vision coming into tonight. Maybe they've spotted something in young boys defending, because there was no one within about 5 yards anywhere around, in a 5-yard radius of Yuri Tielemans. He was completely free as a bird in that box, in an 18-yard box that was packed quite closer to the goalkeeper, but no one anywhere near Yuri Tielemans, and that is criminal. And that's a lovely ball over the top. Watkins making the run in behind. This could be two. Watkins! He's messed it up. Goodness me. Ollie Watkins, last season one of the best on one-on-one moments, but on that occasion, I think he's let himself down. I think he's disappointed in his own display there. Just a flick ball over the top by Morgan Rodgers, and Watkins just made the run in behind, got past his defenders, and as he tried to set up for the shot, I think he kind of lost balance and dragged it well wide, but that would have been a wonderful opportunity for Watkins. And there we are. See Villa starting to feel a bit more comfortable now in the game. You can certainly feel it, where Villa are starting to find their mojo in that sense in these early moments. Here's Loper around the corner. Here's Ugrinic. Now out wide it goes to Atakame. Switches it to the left hand side for Colley. Tries to head it across the 18-yard box, but away by Konza. Back to Colley though. He tries to take on Bogard, and Bogard there just couldn't react in quick enough. Will be a young boys' corner. Their first corner of the game. See what they can do from their first corner. Villa scored from theirs, so no pressure. Philip Ugrinic, who's probably taken all of the set pieces so far, is over to take this corner. It will be an in-swinging corner with the right foot. Ugrinic looking for his target. The Ultras behind that goal. Right-footed delivery by Ugrinic to the back post. And easily gathered by Emi Martinez. He had that covered all the way through. I think Emi Martinez has got a bit dramatic there. Give him an Oscar for that acting. Goodness me. He's making a bit more of that than he needs to. Ganvula just got a slight touch on him. I wouldn't say he certainly drips them to the ground, but he got a slight touch on him, and Emi Martinez is acting like he's been shot dead. I mean, I think he needs to calm down. But he's always the theatric, is Emi Martinez. Loves a wind-up. He's a wind-up merchant anyway. Here's Yuri Tielemans. Torres finds Rodgers, just underhit that pass. Tielemans will be there to intercept. And Onana there picking it up, finds Tielemans again. Villa doing the hard work, and the referee is going to just pull this back for a free kick. Foul on Amadou Onana. And a yellow card is going to be coming out here as well. And that is going to be to check Niasse for that pull. yellow card for Czech Niasa. A free kick to Aston Villa. Yuri Tielemans ready to take it again. Similar distance to their first free kick a bit earlier on. This time he goes short again, but out wide to Digne this time. Back to Tielemans. Looking to work the angle here, Villa, as Ramsey does really well. And Digne tried to cross it, but blocked off. Will be a Villa corner. They just seem a bit more kind of controlled of their possession now. They seem a bit sharper, Villa. I think it's taken them a bit of time to just warm up into the game, to get comfortable on the ball and comfortable with their own play. But since the goal, they've been probably the better side. Certainly look more comfortable on the ball. Digne to take this corner. McGinn's in a similar position he was when he crossed that ball for the goal. He will get the ball again, McGinn. Short corner. Back to Digne though. Digne with a cross this time all the way through. Falls for Bogard there. Tried to recycle it in the end instead of taking the shot. Now McGinn. Konsa. Darts one forward. Digne flicks it back for Rodgers, who takes a lovely touch. Rodgers across, and goodness me, Colley got back there to defend it, but that could have went anywhere. And now young boys want a counter. Bogard out on this left hand side has a bit of defending to do against Colley, but Bogard did well as Colley tried to flick it round the corner for his teammate. Bogard there to intercept. It's gone a bit loose though now, as the shot from distance is high and very well wide from Zachary Atakame. Goal kick to Villa. Thanks everybody for joining us tonight here in LFS. Villa leading at Young Boys by 0-0. Yuri Tielemans' goal, the difference between the two sides. Great to have you with us this evening for the new dawn of the Champions League. 3 more games to come for you, so there's certainly no lacking of action here on LFS this midweek. In terms of commentaries, 4 in total, 3 more to come. As McGinn's ball finds Rodgers. Rodgers across, and Ollie Watkins was there, but Rodgers couldn't find him in the end, and Young Boys clear their lines. But again, it's much better play from Aston Villa. Much more threatening. They probably could be 2 or 3 up here with the football they've played in the last few minutes. And it's quite contrasting to their first 25 minutes of the game, where they were a bit sloppy on the ball, Villa. The last 8 minutes or so since they scored, their passing's been much sharper, and I think Young Boys have been a bit rattled themselves. McGinn finds Watkins, tries to find the runner Ramsey. Rodgers now cuts it back to Ramsey. Ramsey on the edge of the D. Jacob Ramsey has his shot, darting down that right hand corner, but gathered by the Young Boys goalkeeper David von Balmus. But again, it's that fluidity about Villa. John McGinn just plays it into Watkins. He's got options, he's got runners, he's got kind of teammates breaking forward for Aston Villa. And there's that clear intent from that front 4 that we really hadn't seen very much of early in the game. There's that clear kind of hunger now to get the ball forward and get it forward quickly. And it's working. As Torres does well, holding off 2 Young Boys attackers there, sorry. This now finds Tielemans. Here's Ramsey. Back to Torres. 8 minutes or so to go in the first half here in Switzerland. Onana has to turn back to Konsa. Now Tielemans under pressure from Ugrinic, but Tielemans does well to spin on the ball. Taken out though, but the referee will play advantage as Ramsey darts it down the left flank. Finds Digne. Digne with a cutback. Digne that finds Rodgers. Cuts it across, but Zukuru there to defend, although Ollie Watkins got involved. And the goalkeeper, and I think something's happened. I think the ball's in the net. Jacob Ramsey's put it in. 2-0. The referee's given it. I don't know what's happened. Goodness me. Where's that come from? Just as I thought Zukuru had it sorted, the ball was then played back to the keeper. The keeper got in a muddle. The defenders hadn't a clue what was going on. And somehow the ball found the back of the net. Dina cuts it back to Rodgers. Rodgers gets into the box, has his cross blocked by Zukru. And then the play back by... I'm trying to see who that is. Is that Colley? Kamara? I think it is Kamara, sorry. Kamara just tries to play it back to his keeper. And he doesn't know Watkins is there. Watkins just gets involved with the keeper. They both end up on the floor. And Ramsey's there to pick up the pieces. I mean, that has to be one of the most bizarre goals that I've ever seen. I mean, initially I thought the referee might have given a penalty for the collision, but goodness me, they're not going to give a penalty because it's a goal. No foul on the goalkeeper. That was shambolic to say the very least. And I think VAR are going to get involved here somehow. I don't know how, but they are. Albeit, their check is complete from VAR and the goal stands. I think the most bizarre circumstances we have seen. I mean, what? And I think VAR actually weren't checking any sort of foul or anything like that. I think they were checking for handball from a Villa player, but of course VAR has cleared all that up now. The goal does stand. But VAR certainly had us worrying for a moment. Although here come Villa again. It's non-stop from Aston Villa. This is fabulous play by Rodgers. Out on the right-hand side, cuts it back for Watkins. Shot blocked. Watkins again closed down. Goodness me. Villa have turned into some sort of a force in these last few minutes. Because young boys just cannot keep up with them at all. 5 minutes to go before the half, and I think the home side are desperate for the whistle. So at this rate, they could find themselves even further behind before the interval. Albeit there's a stoppage here as Atakame has gone down in his own 18-yard box, holding a delicate area, shall we say, to put it nicely, as he got clean whacked by Ollie Watkins there. You can imagine where it is. I'm not going to go into grim detail, but it's a painful one to say the very least. Certainly not a groin issue. Anyway, Villa leading 2-0. The same scoreline actually in Turin as well. Juventus leading PSV Eindhoven by 2-0. What a goal. The opener, Kenan Yildiz, an absolute screamer into the top right corner. And Weston McKennie added a second to Juventus' lead in that one. So both sides leading and winning by 2-0 in our respective early games this evening. Of course, still to come later on, AC Milan take on Liverpool, Dinamo Zagreb head to Munich to face Bayern, Real Madrid face Stuttgart, the champions, and Sporting against Lille is our other matchup. So 4 games at 8 o'clock for you, and we will have commentary from the San Siro. AC Milan against Liverpool. Young boys trying to get some sort of control back in this game because it's absolutely evaporated in these last 10 minutes. Any sort of dominance or control or attack from young boys, it's been all Aston Villa, and they've muddled it up again. Ramsey wins it back. Tielemans. Onana back to Tielemans, and now back to Esri Konsa. I think just the sheer pace of how Villa have played. I mean, I mentioned it. There was a real sluggishness, a real sloppiness about Villa's play in the first 25 minutes. But once they upped the tempo, once they started to get more a bit of energy, a bit of rhythm, a bit of tempo in the game, they really started to take control and dominate. And I think that's crucial for Aston Villa. That pace that they play week in, week out in the Premier League is a different level to other sides in Europe. And that's what I think makes the Premier League side so threatening in Europe, is the high intensity play that they have to do in their division, in their league, to make it count. As Ramsey cuts it across, Ollie Watkins blocked again. Watkins 3-0. Rifles it into the top left corner at the second time of asking. And Ollie Watkins has added another for Villa. They have run rampant at a rampage from Aston Villa. in the final 20 minutes of this first half, where they have left young boys for dead. Pardon the pun. But Zukru blocks the first shot. He is not blocking the second one. It's an absolute wonder of an effort. The left-footed strike comes off Zukru, off the chest of Watkins, brought down, and he strikes it with a right. No chance for the keeper. Blistering from Ollie Watkins. You weren't going to keep him out for too long when you keep giving him opportunities. And again, this first half, seen young boys possibly the better side in the first 20 minutes to a side that have absolutely crumbled in the last 10-15 minutes. And it's only what Aston Villa deserve. Although VAR might be having a question about this one. And I think they might be checking handball again, but as I indicated, the first shot actually come off the chest of Watkins, I believe. I think that's what they're checking for, so we'll wait on confirmation. But they are checking this goal VAR, so we'll wait and see. I see the replay. I don't think this is a handball. And I think they've given handball. Have they? Yeah, no goal. I'm baffled by that. I don't think that is a handball. I mean, VAR certainly had a look, but from what I could see, to me, that didn't look like handball whatsoever. I mean, we'd have to see a more definitive replay. I see it here from the reverse angle. That's not handball. I have to be honest. I think VAR have messed that one up. That is not handball in my opinion. Ollie Watkins scored a perfectly good goal there for me. But there we are. VAR have disagreed. And I don't know how they've disagreed. I don't know how they're going to claim that this is a disagreeable term. But there is no goal. And I think everybody's baffled by that one. But the home fans are certainly happy that they're only 2-0 down and not 3-0 down. But nonetheless, we'll have 4 added minutes at the end of the half then. And I think that would have been a pretty confusing decision, I have to be honest, from VAR there. I didn't think that was handball, but here come Villa. They want to make it 3 here. Here's Rodgers. Plays it through. Watkins this time, well, closed off. 3 had to get around him. I think Atakame did clear it definitively there away from Watkins, but again, not the best at defending ultimately from young boys. Although they do get it away. But again, it's just a bit of ease from Villa. After those early struggles, they've come into their own and certainly dominated this game so far. As the half continues. Concert. McGinn tried to play it on the outside to Bogard, but well closed off by Hajam. Now Loper. To Colley. Back to Loper. It's probably the best spell of possession young boys have had in the last 10 minutes. Here's Zukru. To Hajam again. 2 minutes of the first half to go. And it's been, let's say, a crazy last 15 minutes. Certainly, it still stands. That second goal from Aston Villa, probably one of the most bizarre goals I've ever seen a team concede, because it's just, I mean, I could talk about it all day, but it was calamity at the back there. As Hajam tries to cross it, but Tielemans trying to get involved in the box, goes to ground, and Aston Villa get a free kick, fouled there by Joel Montero. Free kick to Aston Villa. Well, interestingly, Aston Villa have actually had less possession as the half's gone on, actually, since they had in those early moments. So maybe that dominance of possession was a problem. 61% possession they had, and they hadn't had a shot in the game since that point. It's just gone down to 49% for Villa, so they actually don't hold more of the possession anymore than Young Boys, and they've actually had 8 shots since then, so maybe there's something in that. Made it a bit more of an open game, a bit more end-to-end, a bit more kind of unpredictable from Aston Villa. A lot quicker, their possession and their attacks, and possession stats have gone down, but their shots have certainly gone up. And they probably could have a couple more goals. Albeit, I don't think that third goal was handball, so they probably should have at least 3, but they are having their controversial say, of course. It's a customary to have a controversial take. As the 4 minutes of added time are up, that's the end of the first half. A first half where Villa, as I said, were sluggish to start off with. Really quite slow and lethargic and lacking in energy and intensity. But the last 20 minutes of the half, they came into their own. Youri Tielemans getting Aston Villa's first ever Champions League goal, and the first goal since 1982 in Europe's elite competition. And then it just made it 2. Jacob Ramsey picking up the pieces in the box in the most bizarre way possible. They scored a third through Ollie Watkins. That was disallowed by VAR. We'll talk about that at half time. There's a lot to get through. Plus, the Juventus game as well. Half time in Bern in Switzerland. It is Young Boys 0, Aston Villa 2. Analysis on the way next. Do stay with us. Welcome back to Champions League Live, half-time in Bern, Switzerland. It is Young Boys 0, Aston Villa 2 at half-time. Ollie Watkins thought that he'd added a third, but not to be, according to VAR in the end. Scorers Youri Tielemans and Jacob Ramsey for Aston Villa. So they lead 2-0 at half-time. Elsewhere, as I said in the other early kick-off this evening, it's Juventus who lead PSV Eindhoven by 2-0. Kenan Yildiz and Weston McKennie, the scorers there. Yildiz's goal, I say, is of top class. It is of absolute sensational quality. And to be honest, I've seen some good goals in the last few days. The Premier League delivered some big ones at the weekend. That Newcastle one from Harvey Barnes was certainly of top tier, but Kenan Yildiz would certainly, his effort would certainly go to kind of competing with that in a sense. But I have to say, in terms of this game this evening at Young Boys Aston Villa, what I would say at half time, and I want to kind of be fair to both teams because I want to show balance, albeit, you know, the audience that we're watching, I don't think many of us will be on one side rather than the other. A lot of neutrals, of course. I am a neutral, obviously. But I want to be fair to both teams because Young Boys did start the better of the two sides, and albeit they're 2-0 down, they've probably collapsed as that half went on. But they started the better side. They started to make it really difficult for Villa. They made it a kind of a tense atmosphere, a real kind of tough place for Villa to come in those early 20 minutes. And I think they probably had the better of the chances. They had the first 3 shots of the game, so they really kind of controlled the early moments where they were threatening Villa, but more or less on the counter, more or less on the break. And and kind of keeping Villa at bay in a sense, albeit with the amount of possession that Villa had, as I said, over 60%. But how they did it really well, young boys, was that they made Villa slow the tempo down, really kind of take all the energy and excitement out of the game and make it a drab, more kind of lethargic football match, which made Villa sloppy, which made them very sluggish, which gave them cheap possession, giving away cheap balls, Aston Villa, in those early moments. And I think young boys kind of fed off that in a sense. They got some good opportunities. I mean, I have to be honest, Ibrahim Macaulay almost put in one of the goals of the campaign, one of the goals of the decade, in a sense it would have been if it had went in. It would have been a wonderful goal if it had went in. It just went over the crossbar, and how different the game could have been if that ball had went into the back of the net. So young boys did have some good chances early on. They were dominating the game. They were the better side. I said it multiple times in that first half. They were probably the better side in those first 25 minutes. But it's not how you play football. You can't just be the better side for 25-minute periods and then just fall away. I think they did fall away as Villa upped the tempo, as Villa got their first set piece. I mean, we talk about set pieces being such a big part of the game, especially in Europe, especially in games that matter the very most, because every single game in this league phase is going to matter. Every point matters. It's not about, you can kind of win 4 games and rest a couple of players for the next couple, which you used to be able to do in the group stages. You're through to the knockouts, you can rest a couple of players. No. All 8 games, you have to be on the top level, you have to be fighting, and you have to be ready to battle for each and every point and result. Now, it's not going to be easy for Aston Villa, but I'd say young boys made it difficult enough for them in that first half where you thought, Villa could be tested here tonight. But as soon as the first set piece came, you thought, this could work for Villa. Villa are good at set pieces. They've scored quite a number of set pieces, albeit it used to be Douglas Luiz, who, of course, went in the summer, was kind of their talisman from set pieces. But from the point that I'm making, Villa have been very good at set pieces since Unai Emery's taken over. And again, we see it, a really well worked set piece, something they've clearly worked on in the training ground. The short corner, taken to John McGinn. John McGinn whips it across the box. Beautiful cross, by the way. It's not kind of able to happen unless John McGinn could put that cross in beautifully. The first touch from Tielemans sets up a shot, and then the arrowed effort into the far corner. Really nice goal, really well worked goal, and it's really nice to see that. The second one is probably the complete opposite of that, and not to any of Villa's fault. Again, really good build-up play, really good effort, really good attacking football, and that pace and quality and sharpness and crispness about their kind of fluidity in the final third that they'd been missing had come alive all of a sudden. They started to dominate the ball. They started to really kind of cruise in the game a bit more, I think, Villa. And that's where the second goal comes from. Young boys just got a bit kind of a deer in headlights, shall we say, towards the end of that first half, because they lost their way massively. Once Villa upped the tempo, once Villa upped the pace, once they started to kind of dictate the game a bit more, Aston Villa, young boys were kind of, just imagine, like a bobblehead. Their heads were going here, there and everywhere, and they were a step off every single time. And I think they fell apart. And the defending of that, leading up to that second goal, I think is absolutely dreadful. It's probably one of the worst pieces of defending I've ever seen in Champions League football. I mean, to call it embarrassing would be an understatement, because it's calamitous. I mean, to pass the ball back to your goalkeeper when there are about 8 players in your own 6 to 18 yard box and not just clear it away yourself is, it defies all sorts of logic in football. Mohamed Kamara just passes it back to his keeper. The keeper is being pressured by Ollie Watkins, and then, and I'm going to say it here, Digne cuts it back to Rodgers. Rodgers does really well in the build-up, to be honest. Gets it across. The cross blocked by Zukru, and you think, right, young boys, just clear the ball. Kamara has this magic idea to pass it back to his keeper. Ollie Watkins is on the press. The keeper and Watkins collide, and then the ball's just left waiting for Jacob Ramsey to just kind of slot it in. And the referee was ready to give a penalty. It looked like he was going to give a penalty, and then he waited for Ramsey to pick up the ball. Ramsey shot it into the far corner. Really nice goal. But the calamitous defending is of another scale. I've never seen it at that kind of incapacity to defend a situation like that ever in my life. And I don't mean to laugh, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but what else can you do? in that moment. It was dreadful, to be honest. Let's get to some chats this evening in the chat. Thanks very much, everybody, for joining us. Russ, who does contribute to the channel every now and again. It's great to have Russ with us. Thanks very much, Russ. Good evening. Hope you're well. Hope you're well as well, Russ. Lonman, apologies, says excellent commentary up the mighty Villa. Thank you very much. Great to have you with us. Basic Chess says good evening. Good evening to you. Great to have you all with us this evening. It's great to have your company for this Champions League game, and one of many this week. 3 more to come. Do not forget, one a bit later on. We're heading to San Siro as AC Milan take on Liverpool in that one in Milan. Then tomorrow evening we're back in England to the Etihad, where Manchester City and Inter Milan replay the 2023 Champions League final at the Etihad. That's tomorrow evening from 8 o'clock. And then on Thursday night we watch Arsenal head to Bergamo to face Atalanta. That's Thursday night, also at 8 o'clock. So 4 Champions League commentaries. We're halfway through our first one, and I have to say, it's going pretty well for Aston Villa so far. They lead by 2-0. So, that's where we stand at the moment. I think we do have some team news coming into us, because this is perfect timing. We do have a bit of team news coming into us from our late game, I do believe. And of course, with Liverpool losing at the weekend to Nottingham Forest, quite shockingly, to be honest, lost at the weekend. Did Liverpool to Nottingham Forest at Anfield. Of course, the first time that Anfield has seen Nottingham Forest win there since 1969. But Arne Slot predicting some changes for this one. Not massive amount of changes, but one thing that Liverpool fans have been a bit antsy about in the last few weeks is Liverpool's lack of Federico Chiesa in the team news and in the squad. Of course, we know he's in the squad. He travelled in the 23-man squad with the Liverpool team yesterday, and we do have that team news in for you now. This is a number order, which I think is absolutely horrific, by the way. I hate number order, but this is the number order. Alisson in goal, Van Dijk, Konate, Szoboszlai, McAllister, Salah, Gakpo, Jota, Tsimikas, Gravenberch and Alexander-Arnold are the starting 11 for Liverpool. On the bench for Liverpool is Yaros, Kelleher, Gomez, Endo, Diaz, Nunez, Chiesa, Jones, Robertson, Quansah, Morton and Bradley. So what I can gather from that Liverpool team is that Gakpo has come in for Diaz on the left, and Robertson has been replaced by Tsimikas. I believe they're the only 2 changes to Liverpool's team this evening. For AC Milan, just quickly, Mike Maignan in goal. They have Calabria, Morata, Loftus-Cheek, Rafael Leao, Pulisic, Reinders, Teo Hernandez, Tomori, Fofana and Pavlovic in their starting 11 under Paulo Fonseca. And a big result for Milan at the weekend, of course. They beat Venezia by 4-0. So very contrasting results domestically for those 2 clubs, but they will meet at 8 o'clock this evening, and you can have the commentary of that here on LFS. So that's the early team news. We'll be back for the second half between Young Boys and Aston Villa on the way in just a moment. Do stay with us. Welcome back to Champions League Live. The second half in Bern is on the way in just a moment for you between Aston Villa and Young Boys. The second half is underway in Turin. But just to tell you, a reminder then, AC Milan against Liverpool is on the way tonight, 8 o'clock. We'll be live from about 7:50, so it's a quick turnaround. We'll be finishing this game about 25 to 8, and then we'll be quickly on just around 10 minutes after to do the next game at San Siro. So hope you can join us for that one, 8 o'clock. And of course, we'll have the updates from all the other 3 games a bit later on, as you can see on your screen. We'll also have updates from the Carabao Cup as well. The third round of the Carabao Cup is done this evening. A few ties to tell you about. We'll keep an eye on Everton against Southampton, 2 sides who lost their first 4 Premier League games. They face off at Goodison, and Man United against Barnsley as well, amongst a few other ties. Plus, there is a big tie in the Irish Premiership as well, as the top 2 face off at Solitude this evening in North Belfast. Linfield taking on Cliftonville there this evening, so we'll keep an eye on that one as well for you. Lots to get through this evening. I will have a lie down after this, but we love Champions League. It's great to have it back, and I'm so glad that you can join us and you're with us this evening. It's great to have your company, and don't be afraid, get involved in the chat. Do put your comments in, I'll read them throughout the game. It's great to have you with us, and I love the interaction. Great to have you voting on the poll as well. Thanks very much, everyone, for joining us this evening for this one, our first of many Champions League games this season, of course. Villa are going to make a change at half-time to tell you about. Diego Carlos is going to replace Lamar Bogard. Of course, Bogard had a pretty tough first half, of course. I have to be honest, it's not a name I'd heard before this game. Lamar Bogard, the 20-year-old Dutchman, joined Aston Villa in the summer. Or actually, joined the first team in the summer. He was on loan at Bristol Rovers last year, but came through the Aston Villa Academy. So, has been at Aston Villa for a while. But of course, with young players and academy players, it's not often we get to see them. But Bogard, has been replaced by Diego Carlos. So that's the straight swap. I think young boys have made a change of their own. I'll get you that in a moment. Just as it's confirmed to me as we get ready for the second half. Villa kicking from left to right, young boys from right to left. And our Bulgarian referee ready to get us going as soon as he blows that whistle. And there we are, we're ready to go then. Another 45 minutes where Villa are hoping they can finish the job, get their first ever Champions League win, and their first win in the competition in 42 years, or at a similar competition in 42 years, since they were in the European Cup back in 1982. Russ in the chat says, great commentary so far, mate. Doing a much better job than Darren Fletcher and Ali McCoist on the TV coverage. I have to say, I do like Ali McCoist. He's a great man, but thanks very much for the praise, Russ. Great to have you with us again. Great to have your support this evening, as there's been an early foul here between Sandro Lauper and Amadou Onana. So Lauper's on the ground, and he's going to get a yellow card. Sandro Lauper, so the second yellow card of the evening, and the second for young boys. And Villa get the free kick, of course. And I did find a stat, I have to tell you, although I was talking all the way through the first half, a good stat that I found. Remember I told you that Villa is now the 6th different team that Unai Emery has managed in the Champions League. There's only one manager that has managed more teams in the Champions League than Unai Emery. Different teams, that is. And that is Carlo Ancelotti, who has managed 8 different teams in the Champions League. Wow. Just shows what type of pedigree he has. And what kind of company he keeps. Carlo Ancelotti, of course, the Real Madrid head coach, and a current holder of the Champions League trophy, of course. Real Madrid picked up their 15th title in the summer. As here's Colley for young boys trying to get off to a quick start in the second half. The cross headed away by Konsa, as Ramsey gets back to try and help out defensively and wins the throw-in for Aston Villa. We have another goal in Turin to tell you about. And it looks like Juventus have found a way to really ramp it up against PSV. They're running the show in Turin this evening. They've added a third. Nicolas Gonzalez makes it 3 for Juventus against PSV Eindhoven. 3-0 in that one, so it looks to be a pretty comfortable night indeed for the Italians there. Juventus leading PSV by 3-0. Villa have the throw in on the left hand side. Brought down by Rodgers as he tries to stride forward. Here is Morgan Rodgers. He's breaking forward here for Villa. And the shot just got a bit too much on that one, did Rodgers. It bounced just before he took it, and it went skied wide. Nowhere near the target that time. That was a good opportunity for Villa there. Just shows with what ease they can get forward there. And Morgan Rodgers certainly been much more impactful, as have been the whole of the front four for Villa as the game's gone on. So Bogard, of course, I believe he was injured in that first at half-time, so that's why he's been replaced. I did tell you there was a change for young boys as well. Meshak Elia has come on for Czech Niasa, so Niasa off and Elia on for him in the young boys midfield. That's a lovely ball finding Luca Digne, who holds off his marker well. Now finds Tielemans. Ramsey lets it go. Digne with a cutback. Rodgers trying to stretch for it, but just got away from him as the home side clear their lines. Just about. Although well won back. Wonderfully won back by Tielemans, and Villa win the throw in. There's that real kind of passion about Aston Villa as the ball's into the box. The cutback. It's blocked. Will be a Villa corner. There just seems to be that kind of extra kind of motivation from Aston Villa to win every challenge, to battle for every ball. It's really upped the tempo and the intensity of the game and made it a lot harder for the hosts to really kind of combat that. And now they have another corner, Villa. Luca Digne to take. Let's see what they can deliver from here. Digne. Left-footed delivery. Outswinger. Headed away by Zukru, brought down, flicked forward, that time by Tielemans, out wide to Watkins. Watkins tried to spin it round the corner, but it actually does come off the hands of Filip Ugrinic, and a free kick goes Aston Villa's way, which Ugrinic disputes, but it is a handball. Quite clearly so, but there we are. Free kick to Aston Villa. Tielemans and McGinn over this one. Tielemans leaves it. Will beat John McGinn's delivery. Left-footed cross. Up in the air it goes. Can't really get it away as Hajam does really well linking up with Colley, but the ball from Hajam forward is intercepted by Tielemans. And now Villa back on the ball once more. Martinez. What a ball out to McGinn. On that right flank, McGinn squares it across into midfield. Tielemans. Now Digne. Ramsey. Much more intensity about Villa. Here's Jacob Ramsey again. Now Torres, who stayed forward. Tielemans to Onana. Trying to keep the ball moving, Villa. Torres finds a lovely ball to Rodgers, linking up with Watkins. Back to Morgan. Rodgers has his shot charged down well there on the edge of the box, and it's bobbled its way through to the young boys' keeper, Von Balmus. But again, just seems to be that extra little bit from Villa. Certainly turned the screw a bit more, albeit young boys still competitive on that front. So far in this second half, Colley to Hajam, tries to dart it in behind the forward there. Ganvula tried to get the better of the Villa defence, and ultimately Emi Martinez was well alert and gathered the ball quickly. So Martinez goes long. Deft touch by Watkins, but went down, lost his balance. Ultimately, as young boys defended that situation, as Torres now defends that clearance. McGinn heads it back to Konsa, brings it in under control. Lays it off to Watkins. That's a lovely ball out to Rodgers. Just seems like Villa know where each player is going to be. It's that cohesion, that real team spirit, and understanding of each and every player, where they know their teammates going to be, and at exact which time. Obviously, you would expect it of a pretty good side. As Digne looks to cross it, cleared away. Tielemans bouncing back, and he was going to keep the attack moving, the referee there for a moment, but he's just pulled it back for a foul on Yuri Tielemans, and a yellow card's come out here as well. Just see that again. Young boys try and clear it away. Tielemans there to intercept, and yeah, just a lazy foot that. It's really lazy by Mashak Elia, and Elia has been booked. So Elliot joining his teammates in the books with 3 yellow cards for young boys as Villa take this free kick. Right footed! Not too far away from Yuri Tielemans that time. Just over the bar. Not too far away. But ultimately far enough away that it didn't really massively test the goalkeeper. 9 minutes going in the second half. Villa have again come out the better side. And they're starting to push for a third. They've already had 3 shots in the second half with over 70% possession. So I think they've figured out that whole problem of having a lot of the ball and failing to do much with it. I think they've started to see that pacey football mixed in with the amount of dominance of possession they've had, as Konsa tries to take the long throw, finds Watkins, but Watkins well closed out, and Hajam comes away with the ball here for young boys. Again, his pass is a bit wayward, and Carlos closes that one down. As McGinn tried to get past Hajam, but again he has it stolen from him, and it goes back to Zukru. Back to Van Balmus. Von Balmus, sorry. Now Kamara to Ugrinic. Back to Zekru. Well, young boys have... Let's see what opponents they've got to come in the Champions League. I mentioned Villa's opponents. A couple of them are big ones at Villa Park to come in the next few weeks. Young boys don't make it any easier in a couple of weeks when Matchday 2. They head to Barcelona to the new camp. Then they host Inter here in a few weeks after that. Then they head to Shakhtar, away, home to Atalanta. Then, just before Christmas, they head to Stuttgart and then Celtic Park before they finish their final game here against Red Star Belgrade at the end of January. So there are some big games as well there for young boys to come. That big trip away to Celtic, the Barcelona trip, and Inter coming here as well. Some huge, tough games for young boys. And to be honest, with this new kind of format, we've kind of crunched the numbers. You can get 24 points out of 8 games. It's pretty simple maths. 8 times 3 is 24. But I don't think anybody is going to be getting close to that, albeit you never know. But I don't think anybody's getting 24 points. But I think to get in the top 8, I think the best sides are probably hitting maybe 18, 19 points, if that, at the very most competitive level. I think 16 points can probably get you top 8 place. Then you're talking about the middle 16, you're probably talking maybe 10, 11 points where you need to be pushing to kind of compete in that upper level. And then, really, failing to win many or any of your games if you're going to be in that bottom 12 teams. But the difference between those 3 sections is kind of similar to what I would say about kind of a Premier League team. You're either in a relegation battle, you can hardly win a game and score goals. That will be the bottom 12. The mid teams will be that mid-table side where they can beat the big side every now and again. They can get a good result here and there, but they're not consistent enough. And then those sides at the topper level, the top 8, are the best of the very best. They're like the champions battle, the title race. That's the way I would kind of categorise it in a Premier League sense between the 3 different sections. because that's the type of consistency. It's all well and good you're coming up against big opponents and big teams. It's about consistency in the Champions League this time round. Previously in the group stages, 6 games, you win your home games, you're pretty comfortable. You get to 9 points, you're all but through and won the group. No matter what group you're in, basically. More often than not, that was, of course. But, this time it's a lot more difficult, a lot more complicated, and there's all that moving. You never know what, previously it was, what are the other 3 teams doing? Now you have to worry about, what are the other 35 teams doing? That's what makes it more unpredictable, more complex, and a lot more kind of difficult for each team to kind of say, oh, we'll rest this game, we'll relax this game. That's what makes it so difficult, because from one match day to the next, you could end up being the top team and end up possibly pushing around the bottom if you end up going on a pretty poor run. As there's a shot from distance there, but Yuri Tielemans had his shot easily gathered, but that's kind of the idea in that sense. But of course, who knows? We'll certainly know after tonight who the best 6 of the best teams are, unless there are a few draws, which I wouldn't be ruling out. But so far it's Juventus that are leading the way, obviously, having leading 3-0. Villa are second, of course, leading 2-0, but still a lot of games to go. Still 16 ties still to be played this week, so a long way to go, and it's only match day 1 of 8. But so far it's been quite entertaining watching this one, albeit a new side in Aston Villa, a side that we haven't seen in a long time, and a young boys side who have had some scalpings in their time. But tonight Villa just looked the better side, and they're going to make a change here, Aston Villa. Ollie Watkins is going to make way, so he thought he'd got a goal tonight, but not to be. And John Duran, who's been in firing form, especially in the Premier League in the last few games, is coming on to replace him. John Duran, of course, you got the winner in exquisite fashion at Villa Park on Saturday evening in that game against Everton. What a game that was. Everton leading 2-0 and Villa coming back to win 3-2. Ollie Watkins with a brace and John Duran with the winning goal. A fabulous comeback from Aston Villa. Well, they're the ones that lead 2-0 tonight, so let's hope they don't end up on the wrong side of the stick on that occasion this evening, as young boys have a corner. Onana having to defend that moment, but with 30 minutes to go, it would be some sort of collapse if Villa weren't to win from this point, but you never know. That's what the Champions League's all about. As Filip Ugrinic, who's taken all of young boys' set pieces this evening, is ready to take another. Corner on the left-hand side, right-footed in, swinger incoming. Let's see if they can get something here. Ugrinic with a cross deep to the back post and went all the way through. There was an on-runner in there. I don't know who that was. I think it might have been Gamvula. Might have been. I don't even think he knew what he was going to do there on that one. Whether to go with his head or his foot, but it went all the way through. Goal kick to Aston Villa. As young boys ready a few changes of their own. They did make one change at the half-time. Czech Niasa did come off. And now they're going to, I think, do a double substitution in a moment or two. Maybe to reignite this side, who are yet to have a shot in the second half. Considering they had 6 in the first, haven't had one in the second half at all, so certainly struggling in the upper end of the field so far since the interval. Here's McGinn. Now Konsa. And it's crucial that young boys try and get something while the game is at 2-0. If Villa go on and get a third, that really could call the end of the night for young boys and call victory for Villa. But at 2-0, it's not predictable. It's not done and dusted, as Ugrinic is in a bit of pain up the other end of the field, but I think they are going to call for these substitutions now, so the game has been stopped. Here are the substitutions then. So Ibrahima Colley is going to be replaced by Virginius. That's going to be the first one. And the second one is going to be Ewan Hajam is coming off, and he's going to be replaced by Abdu Conte. So Abdu Conte and Alan Virginius are coming on. They're replacing Ewan Hajam and Abri McCauley. So a double substitution there for the hosts. Try and reignite this team, give them something. These latter stages where they can fight back against what has been a dominant Villa performance for the majority of the game now. As Digne tries to cut it back from his advanced left position, but well defended back there by Laupert, who put it out for the throw. So Digne to take this throw in. Plays it across to Rodgers. Rodgers now finds McGinn. Now Nana to Tielemans. Ramsey round the corner finds Digne on the overlap. Digne's cross finds John McGinn in the box. McGinn shot charge down. The follow up has to be massively saved. Goodness me, Ramsey with a shot and the save from Vaughan Balmus denies Villa a third. Goodness me, it's great work by Morgan Rodgers and Digne. Digne on the overlap cuts it back, finds John McGinn in the box. He just tries to get across the box. McGinn to take a shot. That's charged down. It bounces into the path of Ramsey, who hits it first time. Real rocket of a strike. And a fabulous save by Van Balmus to deny him a second on the night for Jacob Ramsey. But a corner for Villa incoming. Tielemans to take. Goes short to McGinn. McGinn flicks it round his man. McGinn chips it into the box. Not fully cleared as the shot from Duran took a deflection and goes wide for another Villa corner. Villa really knocking on the door for a third now. But young boys hanging on in there and holding on for the moment. How long can it last? 25 to go. Digne to deliver this one. Left-footed delivery. Whipped into the box, but too overhit by Digne. And now young boys want to hit the counter, but Villa have that one well covered over. And that's good defending back there. I think that was Ramsey that was back there and defended that situation. And Villa get the throw in. Concert will take. Concert linking up with McGinn, back to Ezri Konsa, but tried to take on a man and dispossessed Konsa, but good backtracking there by Amadou Onana, who covered over his right back, got it back to Emi Martinez in the Villa goal. Ramsey finding Digne on the left. Now Onana looking to squeeze it through the lines. Ramsey does get it flicked on. Duran tried to cut it across, but I think it took another deflection. Will be another corner, I believe, as Ollie Watkins sits on the sidelines with his right ankle patched up and ice on it. That's not a great sign. That's really not a good sign, albeit it could be precautionary. Remember, I'm not jumping to conclusions, but Ollie Watkins has his ankle iced on the sidelines and kind of elevated, so we'll see what comes of that. Luca Digne to take this corner for Villa, left-hand side, as the referee sorting out one or two issues in the box. Ready for Luca Digne's corner. This time short to the edge. Tielemans was the target. Well charged out that time. Ramsey recycles it. Finds it forward. Pau Torres. Lovely skill by Torres. Cuts across, and Rodgers was the target that time. Again it's crossed. Cleared away. Now there's an issue as Jacob Ramsey's on the ground. and the referee is going to just stop this because Onana's now gone down as well. It's got a bit kind of scrappy there. Yeah, I think Onana and Ugrinic just got in a bit of a tussle. And Ramsey was down as well. He's holding his left boot, so that's not particularly good. But they'll both receive treatment for the moment, so the game is at a standstill for the moment. Which, as a reminder of you, don't forget, later this evening, AC Milan taking on Liverpool in around 45 minutes. We'll be kicking off at San Siro for Arne Slot's first game in charge of Liverpool in the Champions League on his birthday as well. So he'll be hoping for a big win on his birthday, Arne Slot, a bit later on as he takes on Paulo Fonseca's AC Milan. Along with 3 other games we'll keep an eye on a bit later on for you, plus the League Cup, the Carabao Cup as well, action from there, and the Irish Premiership as well. Lots to keep you informed about as the evening continues. Tomorrow, Man City take on Inter in the Champions League as we return 8 o'clock tomorrow evening, a repeat of the 2023 final. And then on Thursday night, Atalanta take on Arsenal in Bergamo. Another one of those big games to look forward to here on LFS. Lots of Champions League action, and we will have at least 2 live games every match week from the Champions League, and we'll keep you updated with every match that's going on each night, so you will not miss any of the action, any of the talk, any of the conversation, or the results or scores here on LFS. So do subscribe, do turn on post notifications. We greatly appreciate you joining us. And if you do enjoy those streams, do everything that graphic there on your screen tells you to do, because it will be greatly appreciated, and we thank you so much. Because if you want to have one of the best Champions League coverages on YouTube, here's where you want it, and here's where you want to be. As Ramsey's back to his feet, he's just on the sidelines, and he's being waved back on. Onana is also being waved back on in a moment. So Villa are down to 9 at the moment, with 2 off having received treatments, and I think the referee's given a free kick here, but Onana's going to be coming back on now. 20 minutes to go then. Villa leading 2-0. In the second half they have been in control, much the better side and certainly dominant, but haven't been able to find that elusive third goal just yet, Aston Villa. Still begs the question, is there something still in this game for young boys as they mess about at the back there, Villa, and the shot has to be saved by Martinez, and Digne clears it away, but again a bit of muddling and fuddling at the back there from Aston Villa defensively, and I think this is going to be the concern, this is going to be the worry, that they need to just stand tall here, Villa. 2-0 up, do not mess it up. Do not kind of give away a cheap goal that gets the home side back in this game and threatening what seems to be a comfortable lead at the moment. As Carlos comes across to head away, but he's gone down now under a challenge, so I think the referee's going to give a free kick anyway, but Diego Carlos is holding his head, so might need to receive a bit of treatment himself. Yeah, it is a foul against Diego Carlos. Just seen the replay. It is a foul. We've just seen that nervy moment from Villa. It's a bit unnecessary from Diego Carlos. Just tries to play it across the back line, and the pressure incoming from Gonvula is just a bit unnecessary to kind of not see and play Villa into a bit of kind of bother. But luckily Martinez was there to clear it, to save it, and ultimately save Villa. That might be the worry heading into the final stages of this game. It's all about Villa mentality, their mentality. Are they kind of mentally strong enough to hold a 2-0 lead in a European game away from home, a tough atmosphere, a tough game, physical battle, where they have probably been the better side, but in the Champions League it's not about being the better team, it's not about dominating possession, it's about getting the result and getting out of that place. I think that's important for Villa get this big result in Matchday 1, get you off the mark, get you 3 points, and get your Champions League campaign going off with a win. And they've got some big opponents to come, Villa. This might be one of the least of their worries in terms of opponents to come. But albeit, no disrespect to the young boys, they have been, at times, competitive, but Aston Villa have just been threatening in the better moments and more clinical in the better moments, and ultimately that's why they lead 2-0. But still might just be a glimmer of hope here as the cross comes in. Torres to head it clear. Maybe Villa have just retreated a slight bit in the last few minutes. And that mojo has kind of disappeared for a moment. Zukru finding Kamara. Kamara breaking forward. Finds Atekame. Let's try to go for the switch ball. John McGinn heads that one out for a young boy's throw. Maybe a spell where Villa just need to ride out this little spell of good possession from the home side and kind of get through it without conceding. Albeit easier said than done. Here's Montero. Chipped over the top, trying to find his target. Headed away by Torres. Got a bit loose in the midfield as the shot from Ugrinic from distance is gathered by Emi Martinez. But again, a bit more hope, a bit more belief about young boys there all of a sudden. That extra intensity that they've been lacking in the game has come out of nowhere all of a sudden. It's a long clearance by Martinez, again picked up by young boys. It's the long ball forward. It's gone all the way through. Konza battling out there with Montero, but ultimately not comes to nothing, and Villa have the ball back with Martinez at the back. Well, young boys don't have a particularly good, impressive record in the Champions League. Of course, they did win their last home game in the competition against Red Star, Crvena Zvezda, last season. Although they've not won successive Champions League matches at home for several years, in 2018 and in 2021. However, those were against two very big sides, Juventus and Manchester United, with their last back-to-back home wins here in the Champions League. So, certainly amongst the big boys in those battles. I did say they had some scalpings in their time, but haven't won back-to-back games in a few years in the Champions League here. Albeit new format, new way, new system. They will play 4 home games at least this season. And certainly not, as I mentioned a bit earlier on when I read through their opponents, it's certainly not plain sailing at home. As I said, their next home game at young boys in the Champions League is Inter Milan. Not an easy game. Then Atalanta after that here. Not an easy game. Won the Europa League last year. And then their final game at home is against Red Star, who of course they beat last season, but at home. So not easy games at home for young boys whatsoever. 3 very, very good sides coming to Wankdorf Stadium, and it will be tough for them. But look, you never know. Anything can happen, as Morgan Rogers there getting a tussle with Kamara, and I think he's won the free kick there, Rogers. He did. Less than 15 minutes to go here in Bern. Young boys 0, Aston Villa 2. And if the home side want to start, kind of get a comeback and ignite a comeback, they're going to have to do it pretty quickly if they're going to want that to happen. Elsewhere, in our other 7 early kick-off this evening in the Champions League, Juventus against PSV. Looks to be a pretty done deal at this stage. Juventus leading by 3-0, heading into the final 8 minutes or so there in Turin. Kenan Yildiz, Weston McKennie and Nicolas Gonzalez, the scorers there for Juventus. As here comes Ramsey for Villa. Back to John Duran! What a goal! That is beautiful from John Duran, in roaring form at the moment, and delivering again on the biggest stage and offering a pure quality quality finish. There might be a handball ask in the build-up. That's a clear handball. That's handball. That's well in the build-up, but that'll be disappointing if that goal's chalked off, because that's a wonderful finish by John Durant. Fabulous, but VAR might have their intervention again. It's a beautiful goal. Absolutely beautiful. That finish from John Durant around a defender, low on the ground, doesn't get any height behind it, just curls it around a defender and into the bottom left corner. It's absolutely fabulous. And the referee's just gone chasing John Durant to give him a yellow card for over-celebrating. Now, this would be ironic. This would be incredible if he gets a yellow card for over-celebrating and then the goal's disallowed. I have to say the replay. It looks to be yeah. It's handball on Amadou Onana much before the goal is scored. About 5-10 seconds before the goal is scored, but about 10 seconds I would say. But it's clear as day handball, but it's whether it was early enough in the phase to be called as handball or not, and I think they might call it as handball, and they probably should do. And it has. So for the second time tonight, Villa's third goal has been disallowed by VAR, and both for handball infringements. That second one is definitely handball. The first one in the first half from Ollie Watkins was definitely not. And the one thing I did mention, I think Unai Emery is arguing with the fourth official about this, was how early in the moment, in the phase of attack that it was. But at the same time, handball's handball. And I do think, for me, it is handball. But, you know, you never know. That's why the referee was called to the screen to check it, and he did check it, and he did disallow the goal. Still 2-0 then. It could be 4. They've had 2 goals disallowed, albeit one of them rightfully so, that last one, and one wrongfully so. So probably should be 3-0 on the basis of things, but it could be 4. Nonetheless, it's only 2 as we head into the final 10 minutes here in Bern. As I mentioned, don't forget, AC Milan Liverpool follows this one, so once this stream concludes we will hand you straight over to the next stream as the build-up starts from around 10 to 8 to that one, so we will be live from about 10 to 8 this evening for that one in about 20 minutes time, as another one hit, but that one wide on that occasion by Villa. So that's coming up in about less than a half an hour's time here on LFS, so not long to wait for you. We've been waiting long enough for Champions League football to return. It's been well in the waiting, and as soon as it was announced that this new format will be coming, it's been highly anticipated, highly kind of intriguing as to what it would mean, what it would be like, and kind of how everything would go. I don't know what we were expecting, because so far it's been pretty normal. But it's just been fascinating as young boys in the box there. Gonvula went down. He wanted a penalty, but I think the referee is having nothing there. Not having none of that, because I don't think it was a penalty. See it again. The ball lifted into the box. Gonvula in a bit of a tussle with Diego Carlos. But I mean, let's be real. That's not a penalty. He went to ground very, very, very easily there. The home crowd are certainly incensed. I believe a penalty is what should happen, but we've got back underway, so there's no indication that that was being checked at all. If it was, it's not been given. As John Durant has another shot in the box, but this time from a much narrower angle, and well off target that time. There's another double substitution incoming here from Young Boys. So Joel Montero is going to make way. He is going to be replaced by Darian Malesh. And the second substitution for young boys is going to see Cedric Etienne replacing Silver Ganvula. So Ganvula and Montero off, and Malesh and Etienne on for the last 7 minutes of normal time, plus the additional time. As young boys pushing forward again. A goal now would certainly change it, as the shot is well closed down from Villa. Certainly keeping more possession now, the home side. Trying to push back against Aston Villa. As Konza has a bit of defending to do down this side. Goes to ground, wanted a foul, but the referee said no. Here's Malesh. Delivers into the box. All the way through. A bit too much that from Malesh, and Ugrinic couldn't really get much control on it as Ramsey comes away with it now for Villa. Here's Rodgers. Takes a heavy touch. Gets it to McGinn. Back to Rodgers. Morgan Rodgers now out wide to John Duran on the right hand side. Villa just looking to keep the ball up the field and manage this game now. Onana. Konsa to McGinn. Takes a touch away from his marker, but still hounded. But McGinn does really well, holding off his man and playing it back to Carlos. To Torres. Now to Digne. Finds Yuri Tielemans. Space to stride forward Tielemans. Finds Ramsey on the left flank. Ramsey across to Rodgers, who tried to place it, but placed it straight into the hands of the young boys keeper, who sent one long. And this is one for Carlos to defend. And defends it fabulously well. Great challenge on E10. That's fabulous defending. Gets across his man. Just shoves him out of the way. Says get away. And just cleanly sees the ball back to, to his keeper. Patrick Rahman not particularly happy. The young boys head coach there about that. Wanted a penalty, but no one in their right mind would give a penalty for that. It's great defending. Here's Ramsey. Flicks it across. Finds Tielemans. Tielemans on the break. Tielemans trying to ride the challenge. Does well to keep the ball. Back to Onana. 5 minutes to go. Onana will shoot! Oh my goodness me! That is taking John Duran's finish and has said, I raise you. That is fabulous. That's a rocket and a half from Amadou Onana. That certainly ends it. Fabulous from Tielemans to keep Villa up the field. Keeps the ball. Spins it back to Onana. And he just sees the bottom left corner. Just places it beautifully. And I think it just bounces before it gets to the keeper. It is precision at its finest. That is top quality from Amadou Onana. Goodness me, that's fabulous. And that really should put the icing on the cake for Aston Villa. Should wrap it all up and say, there's your 3 points. Take them back to Birmingham. Wrapped up in a ribbon that is going to be sealed and delivered. As there's going to be a amount of substitutions here. 3 substitutions for Villa. And we have about 3.5 minutes to go, so this would just be running down the clock now from Aston Villa. 3-0 at the third time of asking. Villa have scored the third goal 3 times tonight, but only one of them has ended up standing, and it is the best of the bunch. As this triple substitution incoming, Digne and Tielemans are 2 of those that have gone off for Villa. And the other substitution, I'm waiting to see, the graphic hasn't come up, and Morgan Rodgers. So Ian Matson, Ross Barkley and Emi Buendia are all coming on, and they have replaced Jacob Ramsey. No, not Jacob Ramsey. Morgan Rodgers, Yuri Tielemans and Luca Digne. So a triple substitution there from Villa. And that is all of their substitutions now done and dusted. And that is all the substitutions overall done. Both teams have now made 5 substitutions. Into added time in Turin. It is now 3-1. I was about to say it's 3-0 to Juventus, but PSV have just pulled one back, albeit far too little too late. But a goal's a goal, and PSV have got a consolation in Turin. It is Ismail Saibari that has got it in the 93rd minute of 3 added minutes, so it is too little too late there, but PSV get a consolation. So they score their first goal of the campaign in the Champions League, but it is going to be a big victory. A victory indeed for Juventus. When that whistle goes, we'll tell you. It is 3-1 there, and it is 3-0 here, with about a minute and a half of normal time to go, plus the additional time, which we'll keep you up to date with, as young boys tried to get a consolation, but Elia was just offside, I think, there. And Martinez had that one covered anyway. I think there's been a bit of a mess up with the Villa substitutions. I think they wanted to take a player off, and they didn't change it in time before the substitutions were made. So there's a player on that field for Villa that they didn't want to be on that field, albeit it's not a massive deal considering it's this late in the game. But you know, Unai Emery. They always find a way, something to complain about. 3-0 up, cruising away from home, and now they're complaining they've got a player on the field they don't want there for this moment. They wanted to make a substitution, but they made 3 and they messed it up. Nonetheless, 3-0, 30 seconds to go with the 90 here in Bern. Remember, AC Milan and Liverpool on the way very, very, very shortly. It'll be a quick turnaround. Barely have time to go to the toilet and come back before the game starts in Milan, in San Siro, to come. It is finished now in Turin. It's Juventus 3, PSV 1. It's Villa 1 out of 4th. Duran had his shot blocked. Still not finished tonight, Villa. 6 added minutes. I mean, is that necessary? 6 added minutes then. In this one. VAR checking for a possible penalty here now for Aston Villa. Of course, that John Duran shot was blocked, but they were checking for a possible handball. I think that's now been cleared. See this again. I mean, that's not handball. Never in a million years. And from the throw-in, the free kick goes against Aston Villa. So free kick to Young Boys. So no penalty. And a free kick the opposite way in the end. Villa, all they have to do now is just see this one out, and they will get their first ever Champions League win, of course, albeit it's academic really. In that sense, they have won at the top level of European football before, but this is, of course, under a different name now, obviously, with the Champions League since they were last in the competition back in 1982, but albeit, just for the sake of saying it, it will be their first win in the Champions League. And of course it will be significant. 3 points away from home, first game day is big. Albeit they probably would have been expected to come away with something here, or at least maybe 3 points was expected. But the way they've got the 3 points has been a bit unorthodox, but good to see as well. Buendia finds McGinn. On the overlap was Konsa. Konsa gets the ball from McGinn, who tries to chip it across, but cleared away, or just goes behind, sorry, for a goal kick. And they were checking for another penalty there for a moment. Again, no indication that anything was going to happen there because they just concluded that check pretty quickly. So we play on. I think the referee has said, let's just run the clock down now. There was no need for the 6 added minutes. There's really no need. It's just an unnecessary added amount of time. As the ball comes into the box, and Carlos has to do a bit of defending there. We bounce behind for a corner. 2 young boys, so maybe a consolation could be on the cards. Remember, every goal counts. Goal difference is as more important as it has ever been in this competition, and if they're going to lose tonight, young boys, and not get a point, they certainly want to keep their goal difference as relatively respectable as possible. As Malish to take it, delivered in, chested away by Tielemans, still not cleared away though, as McGinn now hoofs it up the field and does get it clear of danger. So a throw in incoming here for Aston Villa. Let's have a look and wonder about Aston Villa. What can we really expect of them this season in terms of the Champions League? What is knockouts probably what the best they can hope for? Maybe, because to be honest, is the knockouts the very farthest they can go? Are they the top 8, one of the top 8 teams in Europe? I don't think so. But are they capable of getting into the round of 16? Are they one of the top 16 teams in Europe? I'd probably say they could very much be. It all depends if they end up in that middle kind of grouping of playoffs grouping, where they have to do the playoffs to get a place in the knockouts. It's unpredictable. But are they capable of it, Villa? I would argue yes. And I don't think I would have many kind of opposition to arguing that point, because they are a good side. And they will be competitive this season in the Champions League, albeit they've some tough opponents to come, and albeit some big home games, which if they get wins in would be huge for them. But I think each point matters for Aston Villa, and we'll see what they can do from now on. But to start the campaign, it couldn't have went any better tonight. 3-0, big win, possibly a clean sheet on the cards here in a few moments when this whistle goes, but 3-0 away from home in a tough stadium from a side, albeit Villa should probably be beating in terms of the level of opponent, but considering where Aston Villa have been, their first Champions League game is a big moment, a big kind of occasion. The players kind of played to that occasion in the first 20 minutes, but they've played the game ever since, and they've been the better side. Their quality is shown, and that is why the final whistle's just gone. Aston Villa win on their first Champions League game under Unai Emery, and their first Champions League game ever since it was created in 1992. Their first European game in terms of their top level of European football since 1982 ends in victory in Switzerland. Aston Villa off to the perfect start. 3 goals where they'd scored the third goal 3 times. It was third time lucky in the end. Yuri Tielemans opened the scoring. Jacob Ramsey added to that. Ollie Watkins thought he did, but he had that one ruled out for handball. John Duran thought he'd got the third. His was ruled out for handball in the build-up. But Amadou Onana was the man who got the third goal, and it was the best of the best on the night. A fabulous victory for Aston Villa. They're off the mark. They join Juventus up at the top of the table, who've both cruised to victory tonight in their respective games. 4 more to come, including the game at San Siro. Join us in a couple of minutes for that one.